A shocking call just occurred. In an unprecedented moment, Donald Trump reached out to Vladimir Putin. It quickly became evident that this was no ordinary conversation. The stakes were incredibly high. As Trump initiated this tense dialogue, he asked, "Vladimir, are you ready?" The air crackled with tension. What revelations were about to unfold? What secrets burned behind closed doors in Washington? As Trump sat in his office, surrounded by maps and satellite images, he clutched his Mont-Blanc pen like a lifeline. His white shirt clung uncomfortably, dampened by anxiety. Today was critical. This call wasn't just protocol, it was a detonator ready to explode. He breathed deeply and said, "Good evening, Vladimir." His voice was warm yet distant, revealing the gravity of the moment. On the other end, Putin's voice sliced through the silence with a chilling calmness. "Tomorrow, I meet with another Vladimir," he replied, the pause heavy with significance. What game was being played? Trump's heart raced. Could the chaos of international politics be resolved with mere phone calls, or was it all a facade? Suddenly, Putin teased a gift, one that sent shivers through Trump. Even if sanctions are pushed down, the internet still flows. "We have something special for you," he hinted, the meaning cloaked in mystery. The unexpected twist left Trump taken aback. What was the Kremlin hiding? As the conversation deepened, Putin introduced the subject of Syrian conflicts, listing partnerships that sent Trump reeling. "We communicate with all parties, even those you wouldn't expect," he stated, making it clear that they held the upper hand. Inside the Oval Office, tension mounted. Trump could feel the pieces shifting on an unseen chessboard beneath him. Would he rise to meet this challenge, or would he falter against a more calculating opponent? The call resonated with unspoken threats and the haunting reminders of the past. What could he do to reclaim control? He clenched his fist, looking out into the dark Washington night. The stakes were higher than ever before. The conversation wasn't merely a negotiation, it was a battle of wills that could shape the future. As diplomatic shadows loomed, who would emerge victorious from this intense exchange? The air buzzed with possibilities, and the next words could change everything. In the previous segment, a surprising conversation unfolded between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, filled with unexpected twists and tension. Trump, momentarily disarmed by humor, questioned whether Putin was serious as the conversation took a sharp turn. The stakes heightened, revealing a deeper conflict layered beneath witty banter. Now, imagine the atmosphere thickening, like the air before a thunderstorm. Trump's laughter echoed in the room, but it quickly faded into an uneasy silence as he contemplated the weight of Putin's words. "You like stories, don't you, Vladimir?" he probed, attempting to regain control. Yet, Putin's presence loomed like a dark shadow, steady and unyielding. "Speaking of gifts," Putin continued, his tone measured. "I have something that will surprise you. A little something for Venezuela." The mention of Latin America felt like a subtle jab, ricocheting unexpectedly off the walls of power. Trump shifted in his seat, an instinctive reaction to the tension. He had anticipated trivial exchanges, but this was different. "Hyperspace," Putin declared, referring to advanced technology that sparked intrigue and concern alike. Trump felt a shiver course through him. He had prepared for this moment, yet it felt like battling a phantom he could not grasp. "You are serious, Vladimir? Is this where we're headed?" "Calm down, Donald," Putin replied, his demeanor unfazed. "Our students are learning, rapidly." Each word dripped with intention, and Trump felt the chess pieces shifting underfoot. With each tick of the clock, he sensed the balance teetering perilously. "Wait. Are you implying?" Trump began, but the truth was already unfolding like a stubborn flower in the frost. "The situation in the Middle East isn't straightforward," Putin added, his voice carrying a hint of challenge. "We've forged connections with both Hamas and Israel, not for public spectacle, but in quiet strength." The manipulation of narrative hung heavy in the air, each word a pawn on the board. Trump clenched his jaw, anger bubbling beneath the surface. "Hyperspace is a threat, it can't be denied." Putin's voice was smooth, but it also symbolizes deep-seated memories. Memories of power and survival. The tension ebbed and flowed as the dialogue intensified, pulsating like a heartbeat in the stillness. Just then, Trump could feel his grip loosening, his footing uncertain. The chess pieces had moved, and he found himself struggling against an opponent almost too composed, too strategic. You think you understand war? Putin's calm pierced the air. But do you truly recognize strength? History has taught us that survival comes at a price. Trump's pulse raced, an internal battle escalating as resolve turned to desperation. Vladimir, where are you taking this? The question lingered like smoke, curling into the unknown, hinting at depths that neither dared to fully explore, yet. In the tense phone call, Putin underscored Russia's quiet influence in the Middle East, engaging directly with Hamas and Israel behind closed doors. Trump clenched his jaw in fury, paused, then declared louder, hypersonic weapons are a real danger. Putin replied coolly, no, Donald. They're just a reminder. What if one conversation could unravel decades of power plays? Imagine the air thick with unspoken threats, the receiver slick in a sweating palm, as Trump's world tilts. The U.S. leader trembled slightly. His pulse raced like thunder in his chest. He clenched his fist, hard. Words caught in his throat, sharp as broken glass. You don't seek peace at all, he stammered. You just want to provoke chaos, to force some twisted deal. Old tales whisper that Russians ignore kind words. They only heed the bite of action. And now? Putin's tone iced over, colder than a Yaroslavl winter night, wind howling through bare trees. Russia misunderstands force, he echoed. No. We warned Europe in World War II's shadow. While you, and your allies, ignored one man's wild ambitions in Germany. We watched. We proposed partnerships. Then, the foe reached our borders. Trump tried to interrupt, but the line crackled with silence. We've extended our hand to you, Donald, Putin continued. Always. To the very end. Until that hand went unanswered. Then, we responded. And our reply? Even experts still puzzle over its depth. The room felt smaller. Trump's breath quickened, ragged like tearing fabric. He knew this, the opening moves of their verbal duel had shifted. He straightened slowly. Like an elder statesman rousing from shock in a dim Moscow street. Yet instinct burned bright. He leaned toward the phone's glow, eyes narrowing like a predator's blade in lamplight. Deep in this frosty exchange, unease clawed at him. His thoughts screamed louder than any shout. Putin, listen, he pressed, voice edged with gravel. America stands mighty. We guard every inch of freedom. We step in when others falter. We rescued Europe. We halted World War III's specter. We drew the line. From the other end, calm flowed like steady Siberian river ice, unyielding and ancient. Donald. I won't deny America's strength. But you claim the final stroke in that saga? Hollow cheers follow battles. Mere ritual. The true mark? A Soviet soldier's boot in Berlin's ruins. Allies crossed bridges in alliance. When you joined the fight, we had already faced the German onslaught from Moscow's gates. We shattered their advance. Trump squeezed his eyes shut for a heartbeat. The facts stung like frostbite on exposed skin. He loathed their echo from Putin's lips. Too composed. Too assured. As if the script lay scripted before him. What hidden edge did this rival hold, sharper than forgotten tyrants? It altered nothing, Putin insisted. We're pursuing stability now. True global order, free from your storms. You mistake resolve for turmoil. Rhetoric, or something deadlier brewing? In 1941, another leader craved that new world. He ended broken in a bunker. Trump sensed the path darkening. His strategies crumbled anew. He must reclaim control, but doubt seeped in, cold as midnight fog. You encircle us with bases, Vladimir, he shot back. All this build-up, yet you act surprised?" The line hummed softly. Trump's mind raced. What counter would Putin unleash next, a revelation that could freeze alliances forever? In the tense aftermath of a shocking phone call, two powerful leaders faced off, each vying for dominance in a world teetering on the edge of chaos. Donald Trump, with his brash confidence, felt the weight of Vladimir Putin's calm demeanor as they navigated the treacherous waters of their negotiation. It was more than just a conversation, it was a clash of ideologies, histories, and aspirations. As Trump absorbed the facts being laid bare, discomfort rippled through him. Putin's voice was unwavering, echoing with a confidence that suggested he held the upper hand. Trump could sense the historical implications behind Putin's measured tone, a reminder of regimes that once rose and fell in the pages of history. Calm amidst chaos, he thought, as he wrestled with this uncomfortable acknowledgement. Did Putin's cool composure herald a new order that Trump was unwilling to accept? With thoughts racing, Trump recalled the lessons of history. In 1941, when one man sought to reshape the world, he found himself at the mercy of forces he underestimated. Images of a world under siege flickered through his mind, Germans advancing from the east, a nation on the brink of collapse before the resolve of the Soviet soldier who once stood in Berlin. Suddenly, the bravado crumbled. How could he match such a legacy? "Your strong presence cages us, Vladimir," he fired back, striving to steady his faltering ground. The stakes surged, the conversation thickening with tension and unspoken threats, while Trump felt like he was retreating in a game where he should have been on the offensive. Then, without warning, Putin shifted the dialogue. "What if I tell you about the lessons from the 1960s? The Cuban Missile Crisis? Imagine if Russia were to set up again in Cuba, or even Mexico or Venezuela. What would your response be then?" The air grew heavy with this geopolitical bombshell, and an unexpected chill swept over Trump. Did Putin truly believe he could play this card? The mention of those fraught times struck a nerve, igniting concern over a possible disruption that could flip power dynamics entirely. Trump could feel the realization dawning. This was not merely a discussion of budgets or military might. This was about survival. Each word Putin spoke felt like a chess piece shifted into place. NATO's resolve, like a fragile structure, began to tremble before the recollections of past conflicts, wars that seemed to echo through time. His silence lingered, as uncertainty cast a long shadow over the confrontation. Was it possible that he was on the verge of being checkmated before the game had truly begun? Trump's confidence cracked under Putin's unflinching logic. He echoed old Soviet phrases, but they lacked punch, sounding weak and outdated. Desperate for footing, he pivoted sharply, like a musician shifting chords to unsettle the audience. "Our military budget dwarfs all others. Billions spent annually. We're undefeated warriors." Putin chuckled softly, a mere whisper of amusement. "Billions, you say? Tell me, Donald, how do victories look in Afghanistan? Where's the triumph there? Where did your massive funds vanish as insurgents with basic rifles humbled your forces?" Trump fell silent. He stared out the window, feeling the cool night air seep through the pane. Washington lay quiet below, its streets shrouded in shadow. But tension pulsed in his mind, a restless hum like distant thunder. "Ever wonder what truly sets us apart?" Putin continued meticulously. "Imagine tomorrow the power fails. Electricity gone. Finance hubs dark. Communication severed. Your cities descend into chaos, supermarkets looted, panic spreading like wildfire. Our people emerge from homes, organized, disciplined. They rally as if driven by an unseen compass. Survival is wired into our resilience. Not a luxury, a necessity forged in fire." Trump clenched his fist tighter, too tight. A fresh bruise bloomed on his palm, throbbing red-hot under pressure, a stark, pulsing reminder of reality. He gazed at the mark as one might a betrayal, unerasable. "Consider Leningrad's blockade," Putin intoned. Citizens rationed crumbs of bread for weeks. Yet they held firm. No riots. No surrender. They defended and prevailed. We're not obsessed with wealth displays. We're the real deal, unbreakable, steadfast. In that instant, Trump grasped the depth. Not merely a rival, but a force unbound by greed, ineligible for purchase. Fear wasn't an option, it was inevitable. Russia under the USSR excelled globally. Putin clarified. That era ended. We safeguarded others then. Now, we prioritize our own. Lessons etched deep. No more empty talks. Action dominates, swift, cerebral, decisive. A heavy pause hung, laden with dread, grudging admiration, and the chill of impending choices. Say it, Vladimir. Trump's voice broke slightly. We need that magic, but for peace, remember? Not conflict. We've jogged our memory, and reclaimed our response. Putin replied, measured. Let's proceed. Shift to economics shortly, trade pathways. Sanctions persist, time to stabilize. Mounting pressure built as Trump recited Soviet-era lines, hollow echoes that clashed awkwardly. They rang false, embarrassingly feeble. Shaken, he veered to a safer key, akin to a composer modulating to deflect attention. Our defense outlays eclipse the globe. Vast sums allocated. Victor's eternal. Putin released a faint smirk, barely audible, resonant like gravel. Vast sums? How fares it, Donald? Afghanistan's lens? Triumph elusive. Facts eluding you? Fun's fate, amid rebels who grounded your troops with mere rifles? Silence gripped Trump anew. He peered through the glass, cool breeze brushing his skin, distant DC traffic a faint rumble. The capital slumbered in ink-black silence. Yet his thoughts churned, a cacophony of anxiety. What distinct trait defines our divide? Putin pressed on. Envision a blackout tomorrow. Power voids. Cash flows halt. Digital realms collapse. Your enclaves erupt, mobs pillaging stores, anarchy unchecked. Ours step forth united, distributing essentials methodically. Enduring isn't taught, it's innate. Vital, not elective. Trump gripped tighter still, knuckles white, ache searing like a burn. A bruise deepened on his hand, raw and accusing, symbolizing inescapable truths. He fixed on it with revulsion, a trap sprung. Recall Leningrad besieged, Putin stated. Rations slender as thread. Still, they endured. No fled. No fractured. Defense successful. No fixation on opulence. Genuine substance prevails. At that crossroads, understanding dawned. No simple foe, but an entity immune to temptation, unbuyable. Retreat or trepidation, soul paths. Soviet Russia's might shone worldwide. Putin appended. Past tense now. Global guardians previously. Self-preservation key henceforth. Grid etched irrevocably. Dialogue futile. Deeds reign, rapid, mindful, effective. Paused, weighty as loaded air. Strain coiled, fear icy, honor begrudging, decisions looming. Articulate, Vladimir. Trump murmured shakily. Desired that prowess, for reconciliation, recollect? Not upheaval. Recalled our recollections, and formulary the rejoinder. Putin affirmed, unwavering. Agreed. Economics soon, commerce avenues. Sanctions endure, normalization imperative. In the shadowy heart of a tense global standoff, President Donald Trump paces his office like a caged lion, his grip tightening on a gleaming Mont Blanc pen that winked ominously under harsh lights. Sweat beaded on his forehead, slicking his unruly hair, as he stared at a cluttered desk strewn with satellite images and transcripts hinting at a seismic shift. Moments ago, a horrifying headline flashed: Trump had called Vladimir Putin himself, and it wasn't mere formality. Vladimir, are you ready? Putin's voice echoed, calm yet laced with unspoken danger, propelling them toward a revival of forgotten alliances. What words could unravel nations next? The call crackled with urgency, Putin's words unveiling a gift that left Trump stunned, a supposed miracle from Venezuela, discovered by scientists, radiant as a circus stone that cracks under pressure to reveal hidden truths. Trump's laughter died in his throat, replaced by the acrid taste of disbelief. Did Russia's audacity know no bounds, tossing geopolitical bombs like casual gifts? As he clutched the phone, a vein pulsed visibly, his knuckles white against the cool metal. This wasn't diplomacy, it was a power play that flipped the board, humiliating the West with tales of Russia's unyielding spirit. Shockwaves rippled through Trump's mind as Putin referenced hyperspeed technology, faster than any known edge, whispering of Venezuelan winds carrying untamed power. Trump's chair creaked under him, the fabric scratching his skin like sandpaper, mirroring the growing dread in his gut. The Kremlin's illusion felt real, exposing shadows of Syria and forgotten alliances. How could America's strength crumble before such calm menace? The air thickened with unspoken threats, Putin's voice a surgeon's scalpel poised to dissect illusions. Trump slumped back, the weight of history pressing like a vice, his breath ragged and uneven. Tense silence enveloped the room, thick with fear, respect, and the bitter choice between worlds, one chaotic and loud, the other fortified and unbreakable. Vladimir, Trump muttered, his voice breaking, the magic we need but not for war, only for remembrance. Putin's echo hung, a reminder of past scars. In that pause, the call veered toward economy and trade, sanctions lifting like fog over a war-torn plain. Russia stands ready, Putin promised, no weapons wielded by foes, just humanity's fragile offer. The line clicked shut, no victor or vanquished, just two realms colliding in diplomacy's abyss. Amid the echoes of that enigmatic conversation, Trump gazed at the ceiling, his mind swirling like dust in a storm. How long had it been since he'd truly listened? Beneath external calm lurked the awareness of chess moves made in haste, teetering on the edge of catastrophe or fragile peace. Vladimir, Trump pressed, his tone sharp but wavering, you should grasp the power we hold. Putin's retort slithered, soft and cutting, questioning Trump's tales, schoolyard fables or personal delusions. The lead president's pulse raced, veins bulging, sweat dripping cold down his spine as if icy fingers traced his back. Frustration boiled, Trump insisted on proven stories, threats that rattled empires. Silence stretched from Putin's end, a window into swirling Moscow snow, the faint aroma of black tea wafting through the mental haze. You'd forgotten who ended the Second World War, Trump accused, America saving the day with fire and force. Putin's response deepened the chill, quieter now, emphasizing Germany's retreat toward Stalingrad, Soviet grid unbroken by bombs. Did the U.S. swoop in only after the hardest battles raged? Who saved Europe when nights turned blood-soaked and desperate under Stalingrad's siege? Putin's words pierced like a frosty gale, evoking the metallic tang of gunpowder and the earth-shaking rumble of distant artillery. Trump's grip faltered, his magic plea echoing futilely, as Putin's narrative defended Russia's resolve, not mercenaries, but warriors enduring bread rations and blockade horrors. In the fading line, a question lingered, could calm logic truly humiliate raw power, twisting reality into an unexpected fall? In a gripping moment that echoes across the world stage, Donald Trump picked up the phone, knowing this call with Vladimir Putin was anything but ordinary. Just 5 minutes ago, the air had thickened with tension, suggesting a monumental shift was about to unfold. As their conversation began, the stakes were high. Would they negotiate peace, or would this be a clash of titans? Trump's voice resonated, yet behind it lay the weight of countless calculations. Vladimir, are you ready? He asked, and the world held its breath. The boldness of his tone belied the uncertainty simmering underneath, as he knew what he was up against. The specter of past failures loomed large. Trump sensed that he was stepping into a complex game where every move mattered. Putin's response was icy. You went to war when Germany had already marched to Stalingrad, he remarked, each word laced with historical reminder and provocation. Trump bristled, aware that this was about more than just facts. It was about legacy, memory, and the weight of history itself. The pause stretched like a taut string, both leaders grappling with what was unsaid, the collective memory of their nations, each painfully aware of their pasts. Against the backdrop of silence, Trump's heart raced. He understood that their world was one on the brink of chaos, yet Putin was masters of navigating through storms. Your order is built on fear, Putin declared, cutting through the tension. Each syllable felt like a strike against Trump's assertiveness. You are afraid of losing control, Donald. The implication struck deep within Trump's psyche, igniting frustration and confusion. How was it possible that America's strength was now perceived as fear? The telephone's clicks echoed ominously as both leaders processed their next tactical moves. Would a new world order emerge, or would this rigid dynamic simply exacerbate existing tensions? As the conversation continued, Trump felt the ground beneath him shift. What do you propose, Vladimir? He inquired, struggling to regain momentum. But Putin only laughed, a cold, disconcerting sound. Your alliances are crumbling, he replied, while we learn and adapt. The assertion felt like a dagger aimed squarely at America's pride. Each statement further entangled their fates in a high-stakes chess match where the consequences were global. Tension crackled in the air as Trump contemplated the unfolding scenario. So, who's truly in control? He thought, feeling an unfamiliar vulnerability. The realization that his approach may need recalibrating unsettled him. With every shift in tone and each calculated pause, the stakes grew higher. The chessboard of international relations had tilted ominously, and both leaders understood this was just the beginning. Each reluctant sentence could either tear their nations apart or resolve the chasm that had grown between their peoples. As Trump wrestled with this new reality, a pressing question lingered: how would he emerge from this transaction of power? Would he find the strength within to shift the narrative, or would he be relegated to a mere footnote in a history already written? The battle was on. Not merely for dominance but for the very soul of their intertwined futures. In an unexpected twist of fate, a pivotal moment unfolded between two powerful leaders that could change the course of history. Just 5 minutes ago, a shocking revelation emerged. Donald Trump placed a personal call to Vladimir Putin. But as soon as the words were spoken, it was clear this was not merely a call for pleasantries. Tensions were palpable right from the start. Vladimir, are you ready? Trump's voice echoed through the tension-laden air, suggesting a return to a deal once thought lost. But what happened next was a secret dialogue shrouded in mystery and high stakes. Putin, poised and unyielding, listened intently while Trump warned, "You've surrounded us with your military bases, but you won't fight." The silence on the other end was deafening, broken only by the chilling weight of Trump's assertion, "You're afraid." The word hung suspended, a challenge laced with tension. Putin responded coolly, asserting that his nation would not simply sit idly by. "Look as our tanks move closer to your borders. What would you do if we placed missiles right next to yours?" As Trump's pulse quickened, he wondered how both nations had spiraled into this game of geopolitical chess, where every word was a piece on the board and every silence a calculated move. "You're the one creating chaos," Trump fired back, bitterness creeping into his tone. "Your maneuvers in Crimea and Syria, it's aggression, not defense." Putin's voice remained unwavering. "And what about your actions in Iraq and Libya? You brought instability there, not peace," he retorted, letting the reality of shattered landscapes linger in the air between them. After a moment of heavy silence, as if both leaders were weighing their next moves, Trump finally responded, proclaiming, "We are winners. We command the largest military budget in the world." His aura exuded confidence, yet there was an unsettling doubt shadowing his bravado. Putin chuckled softly, "Winners? Where was your victory in Vietnam or Afghanistan? Your budgets couldn't stop the jungle or the mountains from swallowing your armies whole." The depth of Putin's analogy cut sharply, and Trump realized this wasn't just a battle of leaders, it was a clash of ideologies. "You claim survival, but in the end, your people are left with nothing," Trump insisted, desperate to steer the narrative back to his strengths. But we learn to endure," Putin interjected. "Your cities would crumble if the lights went out. Ours would cope. We've learned to survive," he emphasized with chilling clarity. Both leaders were locked in a perilous game of words, manipulating facts like pawns, with the stakes rising higher than ever. The air was thick with impending conflict, each statement serving as a promise of what could unfold in the world beyond their conversation. What was to be the outcome of this daunting clash between titans? Would diplomacy prevail, or was a storm on the horizon? Only time could tell as the dialogue danced toward an uncertain future. In a dimly lit room at the Kremlin, the tension was palpable. Vladimir Putin, calm yet formidable, faced the screen, ready to engage in a dialogue that could shift the tides of history. On the other side sat Donald Trump, an enigmatic figure with an unpredictable aura. The stakes were high, and this was no casual call, it was a high-stakes chess match where each move was laden with consequences. The fateful conversation unfolded as the air crackled with anticipation. "Vladimir," Trump began, the weight of his voice echoing through the silent void, "what is it you truly want?" The question hung heavy, swirling in the air like a thick fog, both leaders aware that one misstep could lead to a potentially explosive encounter. Putin's gaze hardened as he replied, "Donald, it is not the missiles or the bases that dictate power. It's the will of the nation, forged through struggle. History has shaped us. We learn to endure. If faced with adversity, our people do not surrender, they fight." The screen flickered, a moment of silence filling the void as Trump processed the gravity of Putin's words. The nuanced understanding of resilience emphasized the chasm between their two nations. Each moment felt like an eternity, a slow dance between diplomacy and potent threats. "Are you implying," Trump pressed, an edge creeping into his voice, "that the past defines the future?" He leaned in closer, sensing the impending clash. "Precisely," Putin replied, unflinching. "We do not speak frivolously, we act decisively. Action is our mandate." His tone was sharp, reminiscent of a surgeon about to make an incision. Trump could feel the air growing thicker, the stakes were elevated. The echoes of their shared history loomed large, casting a shadow over their exchange. Suddenly, the conversation took a startling turn. Putin, with an unexpected calmness, dropped a bombshell, "The game has changed, Donald. We no longer fight with weapons alone. The battlefield has shifted to the realms of information, perception, and narrative." As the words sank in, Trump felt a shiver traverse his spine. "Are you threatening a new front?" he asked, brows knitting together. This wasn't just an exchange of pleasantries, it was a harbinger of the inevitable clash between their ideologies. Putin's silence spoke volumes, and Trump realized the conversation was veering towards uncharted territories. "You think you can intimidate me with your history?" His voice betrayed a mix of fury and uncertainty. There was an undeniable shift, an emotional arc that electrified the air between them. "Intimidation is not our game, Donald. We remember every betrayal, every challenge. You think you have the upper hand with your resources?" His words dripped with irony. "Let me remind you, when the walls of your empire begin to crumble, it will not be your bombs that save you." A beat of silence stretched, a battlefield formed not of weapons, but wills, each leader battling to maintain not just authority, but the very fabric of their reality. "What do you want from me?" Trump finally asked, voice low, unveiling a sliver of vulnerability. "Respect," Putin said, his voice cold yet resolute. The simplicity of the word was staggering, like a punch to the gut. As the weight of this ultimatum grasped Trump, the question loomed, could he navigate this treacherous terrain? With the world watching and the stakes unfathomably high, their conversation, steeped in geopolitical complexities, was just beginning. The next moves could redefine their legacies. What lay ahead was uncertain, yet the implications could echo through history like thunder. 5 minutes ago, a shocking development erupted in the world of politics. Sources revealed that Donald Trump reached out to Vladimir Putin. But make no mistake, this wasn't just a casual call, it was something far more significant. The looming question remains, what was the real intent behind this conversation? It all began with a chilling inquiry from Trump. He asked, "Vladimir, are you ready?" An eerie silence hung in the air like a thick fog before the storm. Trump was on the brink of reviving a critical deal, but what revelations awaited him? Shortly after their discussion started, Putin noticed a shift in the atmosphere. The stakes of their encounter rose astronomically. From the first word, it was evident that this was not a standard diplomatic exchange. Trump, holding a pen in his hand, was winding himself up like a coiled spring. A montage of satellite images surrounded him, anxiety coursing through his veins. Could he trust Putin? He'd soon learn that every negotiation comes with a hidden agenda. "Good evening, Vladimir," Trump greeted, attempting to mask his unease. Putin's response was deceptively calm, yet carried an undercurrent of something darker. He insinuated that even with sanctions looming, Russia was prepared, ready to stand firm against any threat Trump concocted. "Ah, but you've forgotten something vital, Donald," Putin's voice dripped with cold tranquility. "History has taught us resilience." His words sent shivers through Trump. The shadows of past conflicts loomed large, filled with betrayals and forgotten victories. Suddenly, the conversation turned ominous. Putin haunted Trump's thoughts with memories of past encounters and the unyielding spirit of the Russian people. The tables were turning, and for the first time, Trump felt cornered. How could he be at a disadvantage in this game of geopolitical chess? Without warning, Putin proposed a twisted version of trust. "You see, Donald, our survival hinges on our independence. If you sever ties, we will simply adapt. Your currency holds no weight against our resolve." Each word cut like ice. Trump was left grappling with the implications. The tension escalated rapidly. Trump, usually brimming with confidence, began to feel vulnerable. Could he truly comprehend the depths of Putin's mentality? This was a high-stakes poker game, and every word exchanged was a carefully played card. "What if we push a little further, Vladimir?" Trump's voice wavered. "Your people are resilient, I get that. But tell me, do they even desire this fight?" He had stepped closer to the edge of a precipice, challenging the very essence of Russia's ethos. Putin's retort came like thunder in an otherwise clear sky. "Our history is filled not just with victories but with the soulful endurance of a people unwilling to back down." As the conversation progressed, the air grew thick with unspoken truths and latent tensions. Trump realized that with each word, he was stepping further away from his place of power. His grip tightened unconsciously around the pen. What was he truly up against? A powerful adversary, indeed, but also a nation with memories that ran deep, one that valued pride over surrender. He could feel the chessboard shifting beneath him. Would he adapt or fall prey to Putin's cunning strategy? And so, in the dimly lit chambers of power, the two leaders stood at an impasse, each moment fraught with peril and potential. The battle lines were drawn not just across borders, but within their very minds. Would Trump rise to the challenge, or would he succumb to the clarity and chilling resolve of his opponent? The answer remained veiled, waiting to unfold with the passage of time. In a tense and unexpected turn of events, mere moments ago, a significant phone call transpired. Donald Trump dialed Vladimir Putin, and from the very first words, it was clear this wasn't going to be a standard conversation. "Vladimir, are you prepared?" The atmosphere was electric, thick with possibility. With bated breath, the world awaited the outcome of this unexpected negotiation. What unfolded behind closed doors, however, was an intricate dance of power and mind games, shrouded in layers of deceit and history. Every politician possesses a ritual before pivotal conversations. For Trump, it was a clenched fist gripping a polished Mont Blanc pen. The metal glimmered ominously under the ceiling lights, poised like a weapon. He was dressed sharply, yet the weight of the moment felt heavy on his shoulders. He understood this call was unlike any other. It was a serious maneuver in a high-stake game. On the table lay a series of satellite images, crucial intelligence, each picture telling its own story of a world on the brink. "Good evening, Vladimir." Trump's voice was warm, yet the chill of negotiation lingered, punctuated by his awareness of the geopolitical stakes involved. He casually mentioned a meeting with another Vladimir scheduled for the following day, prompting an icy response from the Kremlin. "Even if sanctions are at your throat, we still hold the cards." What did this mean? The tension was palpable. Here, in this intricate web of power, Trump was met with a truth as sharp as the pen in his hand. A gift, Putin continued, his tone deceptively calm. You'll find it old. But it's one you admire. The unexpected jest made Trump's brow furrow, as he realized he was being drawn deeper into Putin's psychological game. Tell me, what is the purpose of your visit? Trump pressed, seeking a foothold in the convoluted narrative. You, among others, should remember the lessons of history, Putin replied, his voice icy as a Yaroslaval winter. With historical references, he dissected the past like a surgeon preparing for an operation, revealing Trump's vulnerabilities. America saved Europe once, but it appears you have forgotten the true cost of that victory. As Trump absorbed the weight of those words, he felt the ground beneath him shift. The chessboard had flipped. We must seek a new global order, he declared, desperate to reclaim control. But did he have the upper hand? Putin responded, you mistake bravado for strength. The conversation escalated, spiraling through accusations and revelations that echoed with centuries of tension. Trump recognized the danger in this exchange. He was caught in a whirlwind of power plays, emotions simmering just beneath the surface. Then came the ultimate challenge. What if Russia returned to Cuba? What if we stepped again into your backyard? The audacity of the statement struck Trump like a physical blow, anger surging through him. The stakes were rising rapidly, and the looming threat felt more tangible than ever. As the weight of history bore down on him, Trump chose silence, grappling with a torrent of thoughts that flooded his mind. In this moment of quiet, the enormity of their conversation settled, leaving a tension that was almost palpable. The unspoken truth lingered between them, a fragile peace teetering on the brink of chaos. The world tuned in, breathless, knowing their fates were intertwined in this delicate balance of power. The question remained, would they find a way forward, or would the specter of conflict arise once more? In a breathtaking turn of events, a call between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin shakes the foundations of global politics. Just moments before, an unsettling news piece surfaced. This was no ordinary conversation, it was the spark igniting a secret power play. Vladimir, are you prepared? Trapped in a web of international intrigue, the stakes were sky-high. As tension rippled through the air, Trump engaged in a ritual common among the world's most formidable leaders. Clenching a gleaming Mont Blanc pen, his thoughts danced between anxiety and resolve. Months of high-pressure negotiations culminated in this exact moment. Good evening, Vladimir, his voice, warm yet lacking sincerity, masked an impending storm. What secrets lay hidden behind Putin's calm demeanor? The exchange unfolded like a high-stakes chess match. Even amid sanctions, the internet remains operational, right? Trump ventured. With each word, they both understood, this was more than just a discussion, it was a psychological warfare. Putin's response was chilling yet measured. And we have a gift for you, it's an old ally. You remember her well. Was this a mere game of bravado, or a genuine threat? The tension mounted. This wasn't just banter, it was an ominous unveil of truths. Putin deliberately reminded Trump of a past overshadowed by power struggles, date-stamping their conversations in history. You forget that in 1941, ambition met with a different kind of order. Where is stability when the strong flex their muscle? Trump found himself locked in a battle of brains. He shifted in his chair, the weight of history pressing down on his shoulders. What was he truly defending? You claim we disrupt the world. But you are the architects of this chaos. His voice edged with frustration, yet the underlying fear was unmistakable. Putin, unwavering, drew the curtain back on centuries of conflict with a calmness that cut deeper than any military threat. You are not our leaders, Donald. Learn respect. We do not submit. Each word reverberated through the silence, echoing in the chamber like the ticking of time. The complexity of their conversation painted a vivid tableau of power, fear, and resolve. Trump glanced out the window. The quiet streets of Washington offered little comfort. The shadows of history loomed large, and he realized the game had changed. He was now merely a player in a series of moves leading to an uncertain end. As the dialogue pressed on, the layers of deception peeled away. Where was honor? Where was the truth? We are not your pawns, Putin emphasized, flipping the narrative. We exist as a sovereign state, resolute and unyielding. How had their worlds diverged so drastically? With the pressure mounting, Trump's mind raced, caught in a whirlwind of strategy and the bitter taste of realization. A chessboard flipped, and he was the one in check. What is it you desire, Vladimir? He asked. Yet, he knew the answer, a certainty felt deep within. Yet, just as it seemed all clarity was lost, the winds of change held outside, signaling the arrival of unexpected twists. We want peace, Putin replied, his tone measured. A peace you cannot comprehend. You've carved chaos into every corner of the globe. Why? With every tick of the clock, the dialogue wrapped tighter around them, like a noose drawing ever closer. Each pause, each silence, hummed with the weight of unsaid truths and hidden agendas. More than a conversation, this was a reflection of an era fraught with burdens yet to be named. What choices would define their legacies? Would they rise above or be consumed by that which they created? The answers lay hidden, waiting just beneath the surface. In the midst of an intense political atmosphere, a surprising phone call unfolds. Just moments ago, Donald Trump dialed Vladimir Putin, sensing a profound shift was about to occur. With the world watching, Trump greets Putin warmly, yet the tension hangs heavy in the air. What revelations does this conversation hold? What truths are about to be laid bare? Join me as we dive deeper into this extraordinary exchange, where every word carries the weight of global implications. As Trump settles into his office, the weight of sleepless nights presses upon him. His mind races with thoughts of Ukraine, Syria, and Venezuela. He stands at the center of a geopolitical storm, feeling the palpable fear radiating from his adversaries. Why are you encroaching on all corners of the globe? He questions Putin, who responds calmly, because we seek peace, but you see us as threats. Putin's steady voice breaks through the chaos. You may have surrounded us with bases and sanctions, but you lack genuine ideas to support your power. Trump's heart races as he realizes the stakes. This isn't just a game of diplomacy. Imagine if we stationed weapons in Mexico or Cuba, Putin proposes, forcing Trump to confront the relentless power dynamics at play. Wouldn't you react? He challenges. This isn't just hypothetical, it's a symmetry, a balance of power. You're afraid of that balance, of the idea that the world has multiple orbits. Trump squirmed, feeling the ground shift beneath him, recognizing that he was navigating a landscape where his power felt diminished, where his currency was weak. The room falls silent. The tension palpable as Trump wrestles with the reality of his position. NATO is a defensive alliance, he counters, but the words feel more like a mantra than reality. Putin, undeterred, fires back. Who has NATO defended? The invasions, the chaos left in its wake? Who truly bears the responsibility for the refugees and destruction? Trump feels a chill. The game was layered with complexity that he hadn't anticipated. You avoid the question, Donald, Putin presses. You seek alliances built on fear, yet we rise with our own strength and voice. The gravity of their conversation weighs heavily, leaving Trump grappling with the uncomfortable truth that the power he thought he held might be slipping away. But just as the walls seem to close in, a sudden realization jolts him. What if he could renegotiate the terms of this dialogue? What if the balance could tilt back in his favor? As the call proceeds, the stage is set for an unpredictable confrontation that could redefine the relationships of nations. Will Trump regain control, or will he find himself ensnared in a web of international manipulation? Your thoughts on who holds the true power in this riveting exchange could change everything. In a charged moment, Donald Trump realizes the stakes of a crucial conversation. As silence hangs heavily in the air, he knows he's not just talking to Vladimir Putin, he's navigating a web of complex geopolitical currents. Your allies are mere illusions, Putin asserts, shattering Trump's expectation of a friendly exchange. The atmosphere shifts palpably, thick with tension. How does one defend freedom when its meaning is so distorted? Freedom for whom? Trump retorts, grappling with the weight of history pounding in his mind. Afghans, Iraqis, Libyans, each bearing scars from misguided interventions. The truth is a bitter pill, yet it's one that needs to be swallowed. We do not buy friendships, Putin replies coolly, his words slicing through the air like a knife. Trump finds himself grappling in this muddy water of rhetoric, feeling the cold seep into his resolve. Russia is not simply a rival, it is a reflection of tarnished ideals, a mirror that America has grown wary of facing. His thoughts spiral, grappling with the realization that losing here isn't just a setback, it's an erasure of his geopolitical identity. He makes coffee but leaves it cold, a metaphor for his chilling predicament, as discussions veer into uncharted territories. Trump feels it now, a monopoly on influence slipping through his fingers. The personal map of his worldview is slowly unraveling as uncertainty looms over his once straight pathways. Your past is a weapon against you, Putin chides, revealing the vulnerability lurking within Trump's constructs of power. America, it seems, is a tangled tapestry woven with threads of regret and denial. Claiming to seek stability amidst chaos is an empty promise, the Russian leader continues, his voice steady, laden with the wisdom of geopolitical chess. Remove your bases from our borders, and we might find peace, Putin suggests with an unsettling calm. The air crackles with the threat lingering in those words. How far will Trump go to reclaim control? The balance of power hangs perilously on the edge, and both leaders are acutely aware that a single misstep could tip the scales into chaos. Is it possible that this conversation isn't just about nations but about souls, where pride and identity clash on a global stage? As Trump absorbs the implications of Putin's stark insights, he stands at a crossroads, unsure of the path ahead. The game is far from over. What will be his next move in this high-stakes negotiation? With stakes so high, the outcome remains uncertain, leaving us captivated by the unfolding drama. In a recent, shocking turn of events, Donald Trump found himself in a high-stakes conversation with Vladimir Putin. This wasn't just any call, it was a moment filled with tension and strategy that echoed through the corridors of power. Trump, seeking stability, pondered the safety of his nation while Putin remained calm, embodying a stark contrast that would shape the future of global relations. Are you ready, Vladimir? Trump initiated, knowing the gravity of their discussion. The atmosphere was charged, electric with unspoken implications. Trump focused intently on the stack of intelligence reports before him, his mind racing. He could almost hear the ticking clock, reminding him that every second mattered. Donald, we may need to address our military positions, Putin began coolly. Remove your bases from our borders, and perhaps we can tread the path of peace. His tone was steely, betraying the confidence of a man who had navigated many similar conversations. Suddenly, Trump shot back, and how about your actions in the Middle East? Who are you protecting with your so-called freedom? He pictured the wreckage of cities like Mosul and Aleppo, where chaos reigned in the wake of misguided interventions. A palpable silence hung in the air as Putin responded, we protect freedom for those who choose it, and you should know there are more sides than just yours. His eyes narrowed, revealing a flicker of impatience. We understand your mistakes, it is you who struggle with reality while we observe and learn. Trump turned toward the darkness outside his window, wrestling with the weight of those words. He envisioned a world through a distorted lens that skewed reality. As he traced the outline of the moonlit skyline, a question loomed, was his nation truly the beacon of liberty, or had it become an unwitting purveyor of chaos? Feeling the pressure mount, Trump sensed his ground slipping. Why do you engage with Africa, Vladimir? Is it a distraction from your internal dilemmas? The venom in his voice quivered like a taut wire. Putin's lips curled into a smirk. We don't impose ourselves there, Donald. We are invited, welcomed. Unlike your unilateral decisions that disrupt the order. Both leaders stood fortified in their beliefs, yet beneath that bravado lay a flicker of uncertainty. Each was grappling with not just power dynamics but the very essence of control in a rapidly evolving world. As Trump clenched his fists, fighting the urge to snap back, the ramifications of their meeting loomed heavy. Each spoke of alliances and threats, but deep down, the truth dawned. Every move could lead to a catastrophic misstep. In that decisive moment, with their fates intertwined, a chilling silence enveloped the call. Would this conversation lead to peace or incite further conflict? As both men prepared to reveal their cards, one question lingered on the edge of audacity: what monumental decision awaited them next? In a world teetering on the brink of chaos, 5 minutes ago, a shocking event unfolded. Donald Trump, the former president of the United States, made a call to Vladimir Putin that was anything but ordinary. As the moments ticked by, an atmosphere heavy with tension and anticipation filled the air. "Vladimir, are you ready?" he asked, his voice steady but laced with undercurrents of anxiety. This was not just a fleeting exchange, the fate of nations hung in the balance. In secret, Vladimir Putin prepared for a discussion that could alter the geopolitical landscape. What could he possibly share after being cloistered in Washington's confines, realizing the implications of this contact? As Trump listened, he envisioned the high-stakes chess game they were about to play, filled with deception and strategy. He imagined the glinting Mont Blanc pen in his hand, a metaphorical weapon of diplomacy, drawing lines on the table filled with satellite maps and intelligence briefs. Yet, he felt the pressure build. His shirt clung to him like an unwelcome reminder of the gravity of the situation. Warmth masked the chill in Trump's voice as he greeted, "Good evening, Vladimir." The facade quickly faded, replaced by an unsettling calmness from Putin, whose response weighed heavily in the room. With each syllable, it felt as if he were pulling the strings of a puppet master, exuding an air of control that set Trump's teeth on edge. The tension crackled like static electricity, amplifying with each word exchanged. Trump bristled at the thought of sanctions being levied, yet Putin's retort was enigmatic, sending shivers down Trump's spine. Even with sanctions, the internet remains operational. Putin's gaze bore into Trump, a cool breeze that whispered of past conflicts, igniting the undercurrents of historical tension. The stakes were higher than mere politics, they were grounded in the delicate balance of power. "And we have something for you," Putin continued, almost teasingly, presenting a gift that hinted at darker intentions. With the looming specter of sanctions hanging above them, Trump felt the dizzying weight of expectations. He was cornered in this game of diplomacy, where any misstep could lead to catastrophic repercussions. But why was the Kremlin suddenly so active in discussing Venezuela? With sharp indignation, Trump countered, "This Gypersvuk poses a threat, Vladimir." But his voice trembled as he faced the reality that the lines of this global chessboard had been irrevocably altered. Putin's response chilled him to the bone. "No, Donald. Gypersvuk is a marker of memory." The tension that followed felt as thick as fog, heavy with unspoken fears and historical implications. In an unexpected twist, Putin spoke of the past, drawing Trump into echoes of World War allure. "We never forgot, and neither should you. It began before the guns blared, before the chaos erupted," he murmured with a gravity that resonated. The dialogue turned into a dangerous dance of ideology, leaving Trump reeling from a mind that seemed an echoing chamber of omniscience. "Imagine if we rekindled those old flames," Putin taunted, spinning the narrative, making Trump confront realities he wished to ignore. This was not merely a conflict, it was a battle of wits amidst a backdrop of history that threatened to repeat itself. The silence that hung between them now felt like a sharp blade, cutting deeper as both sides braced for the inevitable clash of ideologies. Trump's mind raced, re-evaluating his place in this precarious position, questioning the very foundation of his power and influence in a world increasingly forged by complex deceptions and fear. In an unexpected moment of clarity, Trump gazed through the window, bearing witness to the dark night outside. Washington was quietly asleep, but inside the room, the weight of impending conflict echoed eerily. How would he navigate the storm that was brewing, the cacophony echoes of a past he thought closed? Putting aside the emotional turmoil, he considered one fundamental truth: the ability to endure. The lessons of resilience echoed in his mind, pulling him toward strategies that transcended mere artillery. But would he make the right choices in such tumultuous times? The conversation took a turn into unseen realms of collective memory and suffering, illustrating a dichotomy he never expected to confront. The stakes were higher than personal ambition, they now involved the very essence of what it meant to lead. And as the night deepened, he realized one inescapable truth: the world was not merely a battleground for military prowess, but a stage where ideologies clashed and intertwined, creating perplexing realities fraught with danger and potential. The pieces were shifting, but where would they land? Or would they merely repeat the cycle of conflict born from past mistakes? Only time would reveal the answers hidden in this dangerous game of global politics. 5 minutes ago, chaos shattered the calm. Donald Trump, the former president of the United States, reached out to Vladimir Putin, and his voice trembled with an intensity that suggested this was more than just a call. What unfolded on that call held the potential to reshape the world order. "Vladimir, are you prepared?" The words echoed, a signal that a surprising deal was unfolding. But what secrets lay beneath that seemingly casual exchange? While in Washington, Trump had been encased in a web of shadows, and the White House stood as a fortress of silence, heightened security dampening any sense of normalcy. What was on the line was far deeper than mere politics. Stick around, because this story twists like a tightrope walker balancing on a wire. As is customary, political titans often perform rituals before negotiations. Some pace with trepidation, others find solace in their instruments. Trump, however, grasped a Mont Blanc pen, not merely a writing tool but a weapon of symbolic power, its gleaming body catching glimmers of light from the ceiling above. He was restless, feeling the weight of gravity pulling him down. Clad in a crisp white shirt, droplets of sweat trickled down his brow, a sign of the turbulence brewing within. This phone call was anything but routine, it was a match ready to ignite. Satellite imagery sprawled out before him, data gilded with the potential of history itself. "Good evening, Vladimir," he began, the warmth in his voice tonally countered by an ice-cold silence that hung in the air. A brief pause lingered, an omen of what was to come. "Tomorrow I meet another Vladimir," Trump declared. The room felt electric as Putin, with a serene calmness, replied, "Even with sanctions tightening around us, the internet remains alive, doesn't it? And we have something special for you." Trump's breath hitched. Was that a veiled threat or a proposition? Glimmers of laughter escaped, but strangely, they were laced with tension. As Trump probed further, "Vladimir, you enjoy a good story, don't you?" The teasing enveloped his words, setting a stage heavier than the conflict between their two worlds. But Putin wasn't buying it, he twisted the narrative as if shaping clay. "What I am about to show you is just common sense." "You seem oblivious to the reality we're dealing with," Putin retorted, his tone shifting like a storm front. "The past is saturated with lessons unlearned." Trump felt the walls closing in. The declaration hit hard. "During the Cold War, we observed from the shadows, weaving webs of diplomacy. The moment you let your guard down, history remembers." Each word sliced his resolve, framing old memories that echoed back to the fall of the Berlin Wall when ideologies clashed head-on. But Trump wasn't backing down, that primal instinct to dominate the conversation stilled his breath. "What if we offered you a deal? Perhaps economics, technology, easing sanctions, and peaceful trade?" His confidence, though shaky, held a glimmer of hope as he forced the dialogue into a new territory. Yet Putin's response was chillingly calm. "We don't trade our sovereignty. We don't barter respect for investment. If respect isn't mutual, then we stand untransacted." The silence that followed was like the hush before a thunderstorm, full of unspoken truths. "Look," Putin continued, "a different kind of history unfolds when powerful nations fail to understand each other. We live, not by chaos, but by resolve. If history teaches anything, it's that safety is an illusion when one underestimates the other." The intensity of the discussion pressed on Trump. Could he acknowledge a formidable Russia without receptor pride? With that nagging thought, he leaned back, consumed by doubt and reflection. "Imagine your borders flanked by an immense army, equipped with cutting-edge defense systems," Putin's voice broke through. "How would you respond?" Tension thickened like fog, suffocating any immediate retort. Trump, wrapped in the stark reality of Putin's provocative question, felt the gravity of the situation. Each second weighed heavy, as if time had stretched painfully thin. Staring out into the streetlights of Washington, he breathed in the familiar yet unsettling scent of power, an intoxicating mix of political ambition and despair. They were playing a game where stakes felt limitless. What would change in the world when the final word fell from their lips? Would history spiral into chaos, or could they stumble, staggering toward a new understanding? The conversation continued, each syllable echoing with weighty implications, a cautious duel of ideologies binding them to the future. In navigating this high-stakes dialogue, neither man could predict how their fates intertwined. The threads of diplomacy seemed thinner than ever. How will the fates of nations rest on their next exchange? Would they swing toward war or peace? The tension swelled, lingering in the air, trailing silently as they continued to converse, a chess match of words beneath a looming shadow of uncertainty. From Trump's perspective, he sat in stunned silence. Those words struck deep. He recalled his election speeches, declaring America had lost its core vision. Wealth flowed, forces stood ready, banners waved proudly. Yet strip away the symbols, what remained? Where had the spirit vanished? What if one call could shatter global illusions, forcing a superpower to confront its hidden fears? Imagine a leader gripped by doubt, the air thick with unspoken threats, as history's shadows lengthen across a dimly lit room. 347 characters, Putin pressed on, his voice steady like a distant drumbeat echoing through the line. The Soviet Union, it held an idea. Bold, flawed, terrifying at times. Yet real. People sacrificed everything for it. No illusions there. Do you grasp what drives you now? Fear. That's your true export. Not innovation. Not liberty. You spread warnings of dangers. Endless talks of barriers. The world senses it, and pulls away. We carve our path, Donald. Forge alliances on our terms. Allies, not followers. You? You parade demands, echoing old echoes in your alliance halls. Boosting numbers to mask the strain. It's not partnership, it's patronage. See the divide? The second wave hit America like a faint tremor, barely stirring the anti-conflict clocks ticking in quiet corners. Outside, Washington's windows framed a midnight hush, the Capitol sprawling like a weary giant admitting its stumbles at last. The scent of polished oak lingered in the air, mixed with the faint metallic tang from Trump's pen. Picture this, Donald, Putin urged softly. His tone slicing the quiet like a cool breeze off the Neva. If Russia stationed forces in Mexico, or reignited shadows on Cuba, or a BRICS contingent surfaced near your shores, how would you respond? With calm discourse? Or the fire of 1962, missiles gleaming under Kirby and Sons? Trump's pulse quickened, the question hanging heavy, like the weight of a summer storm about to break. No, he thought, but the words caught in his throat. History loops, doesn't it? Yet we won't ignite it with old foes, we'll stand firm against any encircling shield. Putin paused, letting the silence settle like frost on glass, giving the words time to sink into Trump's mind, rousing the embers of old debates. All right, he continued evenly, as if charting a familiar map. Then tell me, who struck first in the Balkans? Who shielded the sands of Mesopotamia from perceived shadows, when no peril loomed? Or did the mountains of Central Asia march to your doors, begging for reform? Trump shifted in his chair, the leather creaking softly under him, a sound like bones settling into truth. He knew these points all too well. Endless briefings in sterile rooms, charts flickering on screens amid the hum of fluorescent lights. But reading reports, that's distant echoes. Hearing them from the leader of a nation reclaiming its edge in the great game? That chilled the spine, the air turning crisp with the bite of revelation. And you claim moral ground? Putin countered, his voice rising just a notch, like wind rustling through birch leaves. We don't wage endless pursuits. We don't encircle your horizons with outposts. No armadas linger off your coasts. No shadows creep to your harbors. But you frame our defenses as invasions. Feel the irony, Donald. The salt spray of your own waves. Trump's grip tightened on the receiver, the plastic warming under his palm, slick with a faint sweat of mounting pressure. We respond to your moves, he fired back inwardly, but aloud, the words formed haltingly. You're the aggressors, always pushing. No, Donald, Putin replied, his calm unyielding as Siberian ice. You mistake strength for hostility. You can't fathom a robust nation standing tall without conquest. Power, to you, it's peril. We simply exist, and that alarms you. Trump rose then, pacing the room's shadows, his fingers drumming a restless rhythm on the cool Mont Blanc in his pocket. The metal felt less like command now, more like a fidget, a tick against the rising tide. If you crave strength so fiercely, why does your defense spending climb endlessly? Why the clamor for fresh shields against whispers? Because we recall the chaos of the 90s, Putin answered without haste, his tone even, like a river carving stone over decades. We refuse that return. We're not birthing threats, we're guarding our ground. But we won't linger in games twice. No please. No repeats. We prepare, then recall, then act. You misunderstand, Trump pressed, his voice threading with urgency, the room's dim lamp casting long shadows that danced like uneasy allies. Not just vision, but independence. Our right to define ourselves, unbound by foreign molds. A hush fell then, thick and probing, as if the line itself held its breath. Suddenly, Trump veered the path. What if we proposed a pact? Economy flowing freely. Innovation shared. Barriers lifted. Market doors flung wide. Ventures entwined. Exchanges blooming. In return, step back from certain borders. Quiet the echoes on alliances. Cease the tensions over outposts. Start fresh. Clean slate. Putin didn't chuckle. He absorbed it steadily, like a strategist weighing a feint. Donald. Russia doesn't trade dignity for gain. We don't fragment our stance for scraps. We don't auction loyalties for credits. You can't grasp it, because it's not your way. We speak not from dominance, but mutual regard. Emerge from that shadow of dread. Honor us as equals, for that's the bridge you're not yet crossing. The quiet stretched now, vast as an ocean divide, laced with the weight of untold tales. Far across the waves, analysts sketched rising curves of risk, bears growling in forecasts, legends spun of mounting strains. Yet here, two figures shaped eras, conversing in tongues forgotten by scholars. The dialect of raw resolve. You don't strike me as one who yields, Trump ventured abruptly, his words cutting the void like a sudden gust. We don't yield, Putin affirmed. We discern when to hold, when to advance. The key? We conceal our hand until the final play. And if tensions mount once more? Trump probed, the air in his office heavy with the scent of aged leather and faint coffee steam. Then, Donald, no more warnings. No alerts. We simply move. Not in fleeting posts, but in the world's firm reality. Trump leaned against the desk, the wood cool and unyielding under his forearm. Victory faded from his thoughts, replaced by the stark cost. Pauses between utterances grew, vast chasms where expectations crumbled. Neither anticipated easy paths. Each pondered deeply. They sensed it, this exchange might steady the globe, or shift its axis forever. No haste. No leaps. Just measured steps, lest the balance tip into the void of old alarms. Envision it, Putin urged, his voice weaving like smoke through the connection. If your frontiers bristled with vast formations, encircled by layered shields, naval might, aerial patrols, what course would you chart? The question lingered, sharp as a blade's edge, pulling Trump toward an abyss of mirrored fates.